At the beginning of the movie, we see 70-year-old national poet Lee Juk-Yo in his study room. Throughout his life, there was never anyone else besides books. He was so busy with his work that even after half his life had passed, he never got married. Now, at this stage of his life, he deeply feels the absence of the time that has slipped away. Lee is assisted by his 31-year-old assistant, Seo Ji-woo. Ji-woo takes care of everything, from marketing to cleaning and cooking. Recently, one of Ji-woo's books was published, and within the first year, it became a bestseller. One day, when Lee returns home, he finds a girl sleeping in his veranda. He stands there quietly, watching her for a while. Moments later, Ji-woo arrives and gently wakes her up. She introduces herself as Eun-gyo and leaves by climbing down the stairs next to the garden wall. That evening, Ji-woo tells Lee that he'll be busy for a few days because he has received an offer to write a book. He recommends that if Lee needs help, he can hire Eun. Ji-woo mentions that Eun had told him she's looking for work and lives nearby. Without thinking for even a second, Lee agrees to hire Eun. The next day, Eun arrives at Lee's house to start working. While she works, Lee secretly watches her. Gradually, they start talking more, and Eun begins coming to work twice a week instead of just once. One day, Eun arrives at Lee's house drenched in heavy rain. She tells him she had a fight with her mother and wants to stay at his house for the night. In the morning, when Lee wakes up, he finds Eun sleeping beside him in bed. He gazes at her closely and notices a tattoo on her neck. Lee feels a strange sense of longing, as if he sees his lost youth in Eun. A little while later, upon hearing Ji-woo's car pull up, Lee quickly rushes down to the study room, hoping it would seem like he spent the night there. Ji-woo is shocked to see Eun coming out of Lee's bedroom wearing his clothes. Later, Eun makes a sandwich for Lee's breakfast, but Ji-woo comments that Lee doesn't like sandwiches. This leads to an argument between the two. However, when Eun gives the sandwich to Lee, he eats it happily without saying a word. Ji-woo finds this very strange. Later, Ji-woo tries to make Lee understand that getting too close to a 17-year-old high school student isn't right. But Lee ignores him, as if he doesn't understand anything he's saying. In the evening, the three of them go out for a hike. Ji-woo tries to convince Eun-gyo not to come to Lee's house for work, but she refuses to listen. Frustrated, Ji-woo tries to threaten her, but in the process, the mirror given to her by her mother slips from his hand and falls off the cliff. It was the first gift from her mother and held deep emotional value for her. Seeing Eun-gyo crying, Ji-woo tells her not to create such a scene over something so small. He even offers to buy her a new mirror. But Eun-gyo doesn't want another one. She wants that mirror. Just then, Lee puts his life in danger and climbs down the cliff to retrieve the mirror for her. The next day, to show her gratitude, Eun offers to give Lee a tattoo. At first, Lee hesitates, but eventually agrees because of Eun's insistence. She places Lee's head on her lap and begins to tattoo him. As she is close to him, Lee tries to touch her, and in his mind, he begins to dream. He envisions his younger self, happy with Eun. After that day, Lee begins to feel the passage of time. He begins writing down his feelings for Eun on the pages, using the pen to express his emotions. It becomes a beautiful love story which he names Eun-gyo. On the other hand, Ji-woo, repeatedly facing rejection in his work, becomes frustrated. One day he tells Eun to bring some medicine to his apartment. When she arrives, Ji-woo accuses her of many things. He tells her that she should stay away from Lee because her presence is interfering with his work. Actually, Ji-woo started feeling quite jealous deep down after seeing Eun's growing affection for Lee. A fight broke out between them, and during the scuffle, Eun-gyo's school badge accidentally pricked her chest. In anger, Eun shouted that an engineer could never understand emotions. Ji-woo was shocked to hear this, because only Lee knew that he was an engineer. Seeing blood on Eun's shirt, he handed her a tissue, and at that moment, he also noticed the tattoo on her body. Ji-woo questions her who told her about him being an engineer. In reply, Eun says that Lee tells her everything. The next day, Eun was trying to slide a box from Lee's room closer to the table. Just then, Ji-woo arrived and stopped her, saying that Lee doesn't like anyone messing with his study room. An argument broke out between them, and during the tussle, the box accidentally fell from their hands. Eun quickly went to call Lee, while Ji-woo began putting the fallen notebooks back into the box. As he was placing them back, his eyes fell on a manuscript written by Lee titled Eun-gyo. He quickly returned the box to its original place. Later, Ji-woo informs Lee about an important meeting scheduled for the next day. As soon as Yoon hears about the meeting, she insists on going too. Ji-woo, annoyed, tells her that it's a high-level meeting and there's no way she can attend. However, cutting Ji-woo off, Lee tells Yoon that after school the two of them will go out somewhere together. During the meeting, Lee doesn't seem interested at all. He's clearly excited about spending time with Yoon later. His mood in the meeting is completely different, and in a light-hearted moment, he even shows his tattoo. Seeing that Lee has the same tattoo as Yoon, Ji-woo feels even more jealous of their growing closeness. After the meeting, Lee takes Yoon out for dinner when she returns from school. He laughs freely with her and enjoys the moment as if he were 17 again. On the other hand, with the deadline approaching and still unable to complete his novel, Ji-woo, frustrated, sneaks into Lee's study in his absence and secretly takes the Eun-gyo manuscript. One night, the head of the literary committee visits Lee for some work and mentions Ji-woo's new novel, Eun-gyo, which is quickly becoming very popular among readers. Hearing this, Lee rushes to check the box, but the manuscript is still there. To be sure, he immediately heads to a bookstore. Upon checking, he realizes that every word in the novel is his. The next day, Ji-woo comes to meet Lee. Seeing his new novel lying on the table, he realizes that Lee has found out everything. Lee questions Ji-woo why he did such a thing. Ji-woo replies that Lee would have never published that manuscript under his own name, and such a beautiful love story would have remained buried in a box forever. Lee gets angry and questions who gave him the right to do that. Consumed by rage, he lashes out at Ji-woo, saying that he never had the talent to be a real writer. In fact, even Ji-woo's first novel, the one that earned him recognition, was actually written by Lee. Ji-woo, frustrated, says that he can't live in Lee's shadow forever. It's suffocating him. In anger, he also says that the love story between a 70-year-old man and a 17-year-old girl isn't really a love story. It's just a diary fantasy. Hearing this, Lee loses control and slaps Ji-woo. But from a distance, Yoon witnesses the entire scene. She has never seen Lee so furious before, and out of fear, she quietly leaves the place. That night, Yoon comes to meet Lee, but all the doors of his house are locked. By now, Lee has realized that some things are simply impossible to have. Just like he can't bring back his past, he also can't hold on to Yoon. She is a dream he can never truly grasp. Outside Lee's house, Yoon finds the novel with her name on it lying on a table. She picks it up and starts reading it. The entire next day, Yoon keeps wondering how Ji-woo knew all these personal details. After school, she goes straight to Ji-woo's apartment and confronts him, asking if he was the one who wrote the book. Ji-woo realizes that Yoon has no idea about the truth behind the book. He tells her that he wrote it, and that everything in it was based on what Lee had told him about their moments together. While dropping her back home, Yoon thanks Ji-woo. A few days later, news breaks that Ji-woo's novel has won that year's prestigious literary award. Ji-woo can hardly believe it. He's overwhelmed with happiness. For the award ceremony, Lee is invited as the chief guest. No one expects him to attend, as he has never shown up at any award function before. But this time he comes, not for Ji-woo but for the novel he had written, to help people understand its true meaning. On stage, Lee says, "Eun-gyo is like the first sweet rain on dry, barren land. So beautiful, so pure. Perhaps no one could have written her more truthfully." Ji-woo sits quietly in the audience, his head lowered, simply listening. Many months pass, and winter arrives. On Lee's birthday, Yoon comes to his house once again to wish him. This time, Lee opens the door, and in the evening, the two begin celebrating together. A little later, Ji-woo also arrives to wish Lee. After wishing him, Ji-woo begins to leave, but Lee tells him to stay. After dinner, before going to sleep, Lee hugs Yoon, and she gently kisses him on the forehead. Before leaving, she goes to see Ji-woo, and the two end up drinking heavily again. In the middle of the night, Lee hears some noises coming from the study room. When he goes to check, he sees the two of them in an intimate moment. Yoon genuinely believes that Ji-woo is the one who wrote the novel. She thinks this means he has feelings for her. Seeing all this, Lee becomes furious. In a fit of rage, he punctures Ji-woo's car and loosens the steering control. The next morning, Lee wakes up to the sound of Ji-woo's car starting, and suddenly remembers what he had done. Soon after, Ji-woo loses control of the car, but narrowly avoids a major accident. When he takes the car to a mechanic, he's told that the steering was deliberately tampered with. Realizing what must have happened, he gets the car fixed and immediately drives toward Lee's house. But overwhelmed by anger, he ends up crashing again. And this time, the accident takes his life. Meanwhile, Yoon receives a voice message from Lee. In the message, he confesses that he has killed Ji-woo. Eun-gyo is devastated, and after that day, never goes to see Lee again. Time passes, and now Yoon has graduated from school and enrolled in college. One day, Yoon visits the library and finds the novel again. She repeatedly reads a particular page from it. In the next scene, we see that many years later, she has returned to Lee's house. The house is filled with empty alcohol bottles, and the table is covered with leftover food and pills scattered around. Yoon approaches Lee, who is asleep in his study room. She tells him to forgive her. She admits that she was so foolish that she never realized the countless small, unspoken moments they shared. Moments never spoken aloud, only felt. And that these things can never truly be written down or told to anyone else. Yoon says that she has always belonged to Lee, that he was the one who wrote the novel, and thanks him for making her feel so important and beautiful. Lee listens silently but doesn't turn around to look at her. Yoon says her final goodbye and leaves. Lee, with tears in his eyes, quietly says goodbye too, because even though Yoon now knows the whole truth, nothing can ever be the same again. With this scene, the movie comes to an end.